Welcome, Virgo. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back. I'm going to start breathing in, breathing out. It helps me to be clear and open to whatever spirit wants to bring through. Just a little business before I start. First of all, if you like what you hear and see, etc., click like, subscribe, share. I do personal readings one-on-one via Zoom or just phone or whatever. If you're local, could be in person. Contact information is in the description. My email address is there, and you could always send a message. I do not reach out to anybody in order to solicit. If you do get solicited like that, just block that information, etc. Right? Because it's not me. So apparently people are not necessarily reading the description, but there's information in there. So anyway, so there's that. So if you've been to my channel before, you understand that this is done on a particular day. However, I do channel information, and spirit does not always work within the boundaries of, this week or whatever. Sometimes they want to give information about where we're coming from over the past month, 3 months, whatever. Sometimes over the past year. And sometimes we can get information that's coming up over the course of the next week or the next month, or potentially even the next year. When I do one-on-one readings, I prefer to do a Zoom reading or someplace where I can see your face, because then I can see your energy. I can tell more about what's going on with you by way of your energy, etc. I can see, I do work as a medium, so I can see ancestors who are around you, things like that. And I can do more specific channeling information just for you. So this is a general reading for the collective. And yes, I am part Italian, so I do talk with my hands, etc. So, anyway, laughter is the best medicine. So let's get into it, shall we? All right. So what's happening for the Virgo collective? Today is January 3rd, by the way. So technically this would be for the upcoming week, or, like I said, whenever. What has to say about that? All right. Show us about the collective for the Virgo population. What's happening for Virgo? Spirit says that Virgo is being highlighted for the first 3 weeks of January. Not 100% sure what that means, but we'll see what's going to happen. I have a feeling that it means that there could be a lot more positive things that are happening for us. I'm a Virgo as well, so there's that. We're just showing Virgo the first 3 months, and it's being highlighted. So I'm not getting verbal information about it. It's just the image that I'm seeing. So see if something comes out on the cards, right? Okay. Virgo. All right. Let's get into it. All right. So we're starting off with sorrow. Three of Swords is a card that does talk about sorrow, usually sorrow due to lack of communication. It's a card that can be a disconnect. It's a card that can be an imbalance between the head and the heart. It also is a card that shows up for me a lot related to the Mercury retrograde as well, which we're just coming through. Right? So this to me looks like there was a new beginning that has been trying to start since around that time period. And you're now able to put more energy into being moving forward, right? Knight of Wands is ruled by Mars. It's usually an Aries-based card. We do have a focus here around like healing energy, but this is also about whatever it is that you're trying to initiate here. First of all, this is temperance. So it does say to be patient around things, right? Especially because it could very well have been delayed since the retrograde. The Eight of Pentacles says to whatever ideas you have running around the back of your head to put those things into action over the course of the next 8 weeks, right? Basically the next like 2 months, right? This card represents a stepping stone as well, right? The Temperance card also is a card that brings up things connected to an alchemy. So it can, when this card shows up, it can bring a reference to your health. So if you are putting energy in towards your health and kind of like renewing yourself, because the Ace of Wands it's an ace, so it does bring energy towards the self, right? So there is that kind of thing happening here, right? So even though there may have been some sorrow going on here, there are new beginnings that are coming up from that sorrow, right? Because the Ace of Swords is a card that is ruled by Mars as well, right? Weapons, swords, things like that, military, right? Those things are ruled by Mars energy, right? So this is like if things have been cut away under the retrograde, right? This is about you walking away from things that no longer serve you, right? This is a kind that represents epiphanies, victories, things like that as well, right? It's kind of that represents new ideas. This is new beginnings on energy level. So since this retrograde, there are being epiphanies, or maybe because there has been some sort of a trial and error situation for you, there have been epiphanies that have come up because of that, right? Sometimes we have to kind of slow down, right? For myself, I always want to let go, I want to rush, I want to like, let me get to the end. It doesn't always work that way. And being a Virgo and Mercury being our ruling planet, the retrograde is going to directly affect us. So could definitely be going through some separation things right now. Two of Swords is a card that does represent, to me, it represents a separation. Right? It is a card that does talk about, it's another card that can be trust issues, decisions being made, right? And but if there has been a separation, that may be why there can be some anger issues go on up here, right? And why there can be focus around like healing as well, right? But we are starting a new cycle around your life, right? Especially around the course of the next like 2 months as well. So I'm not sure when the eclipse happened. This guy brings up an eclipse. This card brings up a new moon. But if there has been an eclipse recently, which I do believe there has been, I don't know the dates of that, but under this eclipse, it's like starting a new cycle, right? This is the Fool talks about starting a new cycle. This is how we're moving away from things that no longer serve us, right? And the important thing around this situation here with the magician, the downside of the magician is that this is a time period where we can't really like manipulate things, right? It does indicate that like over the course of the next 2 months, here we are starting a new cycle and we're coming into a place where we're going to have all the tools that we require. That's what the magician is. The magician is about having all the tools we require. It's a good card for communication, stuff like that, right? Because we're coming from this card over here, lack of communication, and then there's like separation things going on around here. And I believe that the astrology for Virgos is talking about that as well. Right, we're going through a period of adjustment over here. If there are legal things going on around your life, we do have the Justice card over here, which can bring up legal things, right? And so this could bring up things here connected to like divorce, et cetera, right? But it's not necessarily a divorce. Just talking about this like sorrow here. We're looking at this card here about separation. We're talking about walking away from things, right? It could very well be, a business oriented thing too, where with the Ace of Wands would indicate entrepreneurial things happening as well, right? If you're walking away from some sort of a business deal and then moving towards an entrepreneurial thing, then that would be good for us. We have the Five of Swords down here, which is a card that is more like there's a fear of defeat around things, right? It's like there's this walking away from things that are no longer serving us. And it's interesting because there are these like trust issues, there's fear of defeat around here, right? The Five of Swords is a card that does say like fear of defeat, right? But it's like stop fighting things, right? You can see there's another person in the background over there, right? And so everybody's kind of laying the swords down, right? And it says like fear of defeat. This guy has a little bit of a smirk on his face, though. So the thing that's interesting about this, which I'm just noticing, is that, all right, so you can see there are two swords on the ground, right? This guy is holding three swords. And, there's two on the shoulders, one in his hand. So the interesting thing about this, right, is that the two swords on the ground can very well be the two of swords here, which is a separation. Then you still have three swords left over, which is a sorrow, right? But you can see there's still like one sword that he's holding in one hand, which could very well be the Ace of Swords as well, right? So what this is like saying to me is that could very well be this like separation, sorrow, right? Like sorrow due to miscommunication, trust issues, things like that, right? And it's like there can be a new beginning, but it also feels like some sort of a new beginning that is, it's almost like it's not really it may not really be going the way that you're expecting it to go, or it can be kind of the anticlimactic. That's the word that I'm looking for. So if you're walking away from something that can feel like anticlimactic, and so that's like something that is kind of a short-lived kind of experience as well, because we are moving forward over here, right? And things do look like they're moving into a better direction over the course of the next few weeks. So I think it's kind of like in this sort of middle time period, I want to call it. It almost feels like you're getting some kind of information kind of after you're walking away. That it's like, oh, if you had done this, then things would have been better, right? But that does not mean that the walking away is bad, because you're able to start doing things more so for yourself, right? Because this feels to me like whatever relationship that you are walking away from, whether it is a business relationship, whether it is um, whether it's a personal relationship, whether it's a friendship or something like that, right? Like whoever it is that you've been in this sort of relationship with, that you're like kind of walking away from, I feel like if you had stayed there, you would have run into the Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune is about kind of getting off of the merry-go-round. It's about things that go round and round and round. So even though you could get information that says, oh, if you had stayed, this other thing could have happened, which can appear, it can appear to be a positive thing, you would still have to deal with some sort of drama with whoever the other entity is, right? Whether it's an individual, whether it's a group, whatever, you would still have to deal with some sort of drama. So even though it sounds like someone's coming back and saying, oh, if you had stayed, right, this positive thing could have happened, it's not really worth your while. So do not let that deter you, right? Because it's definitely um, moving in a really good direction here for you, right? Because your wish card is here, right? You're doing this like separation thing. Your wish is here. Spirit is leading the right direction, right? There can be school education going on over here, right? There's some sort of blessing that's happening. You're starting this cycle around your life. There's a lot of healing taking place here, right? You're being given other kinds of tools in order to help you to work out, right, for yourself. You have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards here that are major arcana. So the universe is in charge, as they say. When you see more major arcana cards, it means the universe is more in charge. So it's definitely being a better situation here for you, right? So there's like sorrow here, and you're moving away. You're moving. Um, this is a card that says moving forward, leaving muddy waters behind you down here, right? And you're being carried, you're being guided to like better areas over here, right? So, so that's good. There's a new beginning. You're going to be happier. You're putting this energy here towards like planting seeds, like financially over here. You're exploring your realm over here, right? This is a stepping stone, right? Being focused on whatever you're doing financially, right? Leaving one thing behind, starting another thing, right? It's another card here that's referencing this, like, so you have the Ace of Wands over here, you have Two of Wands over here. So you definitely, you could definitely be building a different kind of a partnership, or at least exploring partnerships as well, right? Because twos do represent partnerships, right? And this is why we have this card here about being patient, right? Because there can be conflict that comes at us, right? This is kind of about persistence, but it's kind of represents conflict. It's like all this stuff kind of coming at you where you may feel like you have to defend your position, right? But I also want to say that just because people are coming at you, or if this is a situation where people are coming at you and you feel like you're on the defensive, right? It's important to remember that no means no, right? This is my decision. This is what I'm doing, right? New ideas here. This is about your ship coming in. So you're walking away from things that no longer serve you. You're moving into a position about control in your life, right? Trust issues, because like it may feel, like I said, it may feel like your whole world is falling apart, right? Tower card is a major reorganization, right? But it's a major reorganization because the ground that things have been standing on, it hasn't been working out, right? So there has to be a tearing down in order to rebuild. And some people would say, are things falling apart or are they falling together? Right. So this is one of the reasons why you have this like Two of Swords here, these trust issues, right? It's like, oh, did I really make this? Did I really make this wrong decision or whatever? Right? It's like not necessarily, right? Because this is another card here that's ruled by Mars, but sometimes this card comes up connected to Uranus too. So shocks, surprises, stuff like that, right? And shocks and surprises does not necessarily mean something bad, right? um, but the thing about this is that it can feel like everything is being stripped away, right? But you can see this card over here, right? It's like this person, you, right? It's like you're moving forward. You don't really have a lot of things with you. Sorry, my alarm is going off. Hey, Ziggy, stop on dot.
11:15 a.m. alarm stopped on dot.
Sorry. So you can see this card here, right? Like everything's falling apart, right? But yeah, this other card here also, the Chariot, which is about moving forward, right? Leaving everything behind, right? But this is a kind of also based on victory too, right? It's about moving forward in a more emotional, kind of like balanced energy, right? Because you do have like the two sphinxes here, one black, one white, that represents balance. And you are having this like fortitude card, right? Thing about this is like you don't really want to get cocky about things either, right? You have all the tools that you require, but with this like Page of Swords, it's a card that can indicate about um I don't want to call it. It's a card about somebody who's able to. The word I want to keep using is about like having like fortitude, right? Um, So again, it's a kind of, it's like, even though things can be coming at you, it can feel like there's negative things going on around you, right? But you're also very resilient in this time period too, right? So you're going through this period of adjustment here. There's all this chaos going on. But this feels to me like there's been this chaos going on for potentially even the last like 3 years, if not the last like 3 months. But for the last period of three, there's all this chaos going on, and you're now like moving away from it, right? And what did Spirit say a minute ago, right? Is that you could have this information where somebody's like, oh, if you had done this, then things could work out. It's not really true, right? It's not really true because you're walking away from this chaos, right? And if you had stayed, that chaos would like resume. It would continue. It's all of that, right? There's fear of defeat. There's a lot of daydreaming, right? And so, see, these cards are connected to your past. These cards are connected to your future. This is kind of where you're at, right? So you're coming from this place here about like daydreams, about being in control, right? About being happy up here, right? But it's like you have these daydreams. This is kind of, it's focused on um, Neptune, so daydreams, kind of like kind of in this like illusionary kind of thing, right? And it's like, so you have these daydreams and you have all these choices that can come up around you, right? But not really thinking that they can happen for you. But you wish, kind of, see, this is a completion of a cycle on an emotional level, right? The Page of Cups. I see pages as communication, right? So communication about your emotions, communication about what's going on in your head, right? And you do want to stay away from these sort of like battles is what I want to call them. And the battles can really just be in your head, right? Like I said, the Three of Swords is a card that, for the most part, where you're coming from are these miscommunications with people, like these like separations from them, whether it can be just like an emotional separation or people not seeing eye to eye, right? In other decks it shows two people in the same room but they're not facing each other. So that's what I'm saying. It's like this like lack of communication between people, right? Miscommunication, stuff like that. Very Mercury retrograde kind of situations happening, like people saying one thing meaning another, right? They're saying, oh, I said this, but didn't really get the memo, whatever. Right? So you're leaving all that drama behind you, right? Spirit is leading you forward here, right? And see, this Nine of Wands here, right? Nines are completion of a cycle. Right? This is like you've been through the ringer. And you can see he's got 8 wands behind him. He's still holding one. There's all these cards here that are showing holding one wand, right? Holding one wand, one wand, right? Even this one. Holding on to one. So eight's a communication, right? So even though you've been through the battle, right, you're holding on to this like one idea, one passion, one. It's not so much an idea because it's wand, so it's about your spirituality, right? So it's like spiritually being beaten up and stuff like that. But it's like you're also leaving things behind you as well. right? You're completing this cycle. This to me is like you can see the wall of wands behind him. And so it's like he's been beaten up, but he's not going backwards, right? This is only about moving forward. You have this fear of failure card here. But the seven, there's the seven, this seven, this seven. This seven, you have a bunch of sevens running around here. There can also be international travel that runs around here or communicating with people in other countries. The chariot card in and of itself, with the tower card, the chariot card here, this could bring up a change in your home. Could even bring up, you have the world card up here. They say that when you see 3 sevens, it can indicate international travel, right? And you've got all of the sevens really. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you have all the sevens. So with all the sevens, that also brings up like major karma, number of 7. And I relate all of these sevens really back to the big 7 is what I call it. So it is all this stuff that goes on here about like how are you moving forward in your life, Virgo? Right? This does say fear of failure, right? But this is the card that represents, it's ruled by Saturn. So it's all about the structure in your life, right? Saturn says you can move forward, but you really need to make sure that it's going to stand the test of time, right? Saturn is not going to let you do something that is just something that's going to be short-lived, right? If you're trying to make plans for something that's short-lived, it's not going to work, right? This is a time period where you're setting up long-term goals, right? So, like I said, the Eight of Pentacles says whatever ideas you have running around the back of your head, put those things into action over the next 2 months, right? It's a stepping stone, but it's getting things like started, right? But you want to make sure that you're starting something that is long term, right? Having long term goals, range, stuff like that, right? And it feels to me like you've been having these plans over here for a long time. This is why this makes me feel like it's more like 3 years, right? Especially because it's sitting next to these like major arcana cards here. So when you see cards that represent time periods and they're next to major arcana, they bring up more long term time periods as opposed to short term. Right? Six of Swords usually indicates maybe like a 6-week time period, right? So, but threes can be anything, right? This can be 6 weeks, it could be June, it could be, whatever. I'm just kind of throwing things out there, right? But in general, it talks about how you're moving forward, you're making your mind up. It's swords, so it's your mind. And you're moving forward here so that you are more emotionally like satiated, basically. King of Cups is he's the most psychic king, right? So he is all about like how you're following your intuition, stuff like that. You have the High Priestess down here again, so more cards about following your intuition, stuff like that. Right, and so yeah, you've definitely made the right decision here. If you're like walking away from something, it definitely feels like you're walking away from something. And it feels like you're walking away from a bunch of drama as far as I'm concerned. So good for you, right? See, thinking about home here, there's clarity, another card about healing, fear of moving forward here, right? Queen of Cups. Queen of Cups is not a card that does talk about like trusting your instincts, stuff like that, right? But to me, it's like you're coming from this place about kind of being like melancholy about things, right? Not getting these about on an emotional level, having to like move forward like tactically. Right? Seven of Swords is a card that it's based in like lying, cheating, stealing, right? But it's kind of about tactics more than anything else. So it's like you're in this creative place here, contracts being made, right? Negotiations, things like that. Three of Pentacles is another card that's connected to like creative energy. Right? So we have the Empress card here, which is creativity. We have the three of Pentacles over there, which is kind of talks about like building things up. Right? Again, the Eight of Wands here, right? Communication. Things going quickly, especially over the course of the next 4 weeks or so. But if you are looking to make changes around your home, right, it's going to be a good thing. We do have Venus here, which is a card that can come up to like love, beauty, things like that. But it's kind of about nurturing, right? And some of you, some of you could be going into things related to interior decorating kind of thing, right? Because this is a kind of about creativity, things connected to your home, right? And so that you could just be giving your home like a makeover kind of a thing too, right? But but I think that this is also cards here about manifesting things in terms of where it is that you want to move. You do have the Hermit card here, which is you, right? This is Virgo. So talking about moving, right? You've reached this epiphany thing. You have the Sun card in the middle, which is a card connected to the inner child, right? And horse is related to power, right? So this is the Sun is related to the sign of Leo in this deck. um, the Strength card is Leo. It's about getting the things that you desire. Right? So it's definitely moving forward here in a good direction. See this other deck. Let's see if we can clarify something here for you. There's a lot of stress, right? You're the Ten of Swords over here, which is kind of about stress, right? For the Lord of Ruin, right? It's an ending, but it's really a blessing in disguise, is what that card means. So it can feel like there's a stabbing in the back, like that's what this card like. That's what this card looks like, right? But it's an ending, right? You can see his hand there. It's called the mudra. It's the same. It's the same as this, right? This is a card that's a blessing. So even though tens are an ending, it's a karmic ending. It's a 1 and a 0. Which can mean a new beginning. 1 is a new beginning, but it's a 10. So it's this like kind of drastic, kind of stressful ending, right? It would mean that you are getting away from things for health reasons, because the Ten of Swords to me is about mental, emotional stress made physical. So it's all the stress, and you having to get away from things because it's weighing on you. It's like because things are affecting your health, right? And so this is why you have these cards here that are based in healing. So as you're moving forward, you're walking away from things, it's for your benefit, it's not to your detriment. So let's see. Okay. So again, you have your wish card. There's celebration coming up here for you, right? Again, cards of blessing, moving forward here in ways that are having to do with tradition. This is, again, if you're looking for school education, things like that. The Hierophant card is a card about being a teacher. Again, sun showing up in the middle. Death and rebirth over here, doors closing, new doors opening. Again, the world card could definitely be like traveling internationally, especially over the course of the next 2 years or so. It could be like education that's coming up here internationally. We are in Capricorn time period down here. But this is also an earth sign down here, right? So there can be negotiations happening around here, clarity, like you could be entering into a new relationship that could lead to a marriage as well. Sometimes the Hierophant card comes up related to a marriage, but it's more like tradition oriented things, and it's a card that represents a teacher, it's a spiritual teacher. So you could be moving into a place where you are becoming a teacher, not necessarily because there's an advancement that's happening here in your life, right? So you're in this place where you're leaving behind a bunch of crap, moving to a higher level. So even like because the Three of Pentacles here is a card that represents like classes, training programs, things like that, right? So you've been in these positions here, and now you're moving forward. You're raising your vibration rate, and you're becoming the teacher rather than the student. So, and you could be working in partnerships with other people, right? Because you do have these twos running around here. So rather than working for other people and there being a group or particular person here who's kind of weighing on your nerves, stuff like that, right? To me, it looks like you're moving into this place where you're going to be more independent and maybe negotiating with somebody to get something started, right? So they may not be a partner, but you could be negotiating with somebody in order to start something for yourself, right? Negotiating for space, negotiating for like materials, negotiating for time, negotiating for whatever it is that you're negotiating for, right? Negotiating for money. I don't see things here that are connected to banks and institutions, things like that. But it's definitely the stuff that's going on here connected to healing, things like that. So I will say this, that the next 2 years here, again, time period of two, major arcana cards running around, so longer term goals. So I'd say over the course of the next 2 years, your future is really being like so much brighter than it has been in the past. It's going to be huge. I feel like your health is going to improve like drastically. At least for most of you anyway. That's the energy that's coming up here is like feeling better, being better. The sun is the best card of the deck, right? And it's connected to like your health, celebration. Could definitely be like new friends coming around here. I don't see this as like connecting with old friends. If you are connecting with old friends and renewing these things, it's going to be different, right? Because you're going to be different. The people that you're connecting with, they feel different to me somehow. So whatever that's going to be about for you, right? Because this is, you do have the death card here. So this is doors closing, new doors opening, right? So, and twos do represent relationships. So definitely this feeling about like starting over here. So anyway, that's what we can tell you about for today. So good luck on that and take care. Again, if you like what you hear, see, etc., click like, subscribe, share. Look in the description box if you're looking for a personal reading, one-on-one. See about doing that. All right. Thank you so much for watching.